The best way to do this is to just dive in and start looking at an example. Do your charts have lines in them?
Yes.
All right. For some reason mine are disappearing. What does the arrow mean?
Conditional.
So let's write this out. If I win the lottery, then I will buy you a new car. That's my promise to you. So we're going to think of this truth table as a way of showing whether or not did I tell the truth. And we will look at 4 cases and decide if I told the truth with my original statement in each of the 4 cases. Typically in textbooks, you'll see these 4 instances, and they'll be in this order. I want you to always do your truth tables in this order with your original 2 pieces of information. So we'll start with true, 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 false, false, true, and false, false. That will be the order for the rest of your truth tables this year. Let's look at the first instance. Each of these, the P and the Q, represent the 2 parts of my original statement. My original statement was, if I win the lottery, then I will buy you, let's change that, buy you a new car. The T means that the first part is true. I won the lottery. I'm looking at this. I won the lottery. Then what did I do? Did I tell the truth with my original statement? So we're assigning a truth value of T, or true, to the entire conditional phrase. Next one. I won the lottery. What did I do? Did I tell the truth with the original phrase? Let's call this false. Third one. I didn't win the lottery. And then what did I do? Did I tell the truth in the original statement? I told the truth. I haven't gone against that, have I? I just haven't won the lottery. This is considered a true outcome because I haven't affected the conditional statement as a whole. Because in this case, it's still kind of unknown as to what I'm going to do if I win the lottery. Here, I didn't win the lottery. I bought you a car. It doesn't really affect what I said up here. Yes. As long as the conclusion is, what do you mean the same? We're going to, you're on your way to the rule. We're going to say the rule as an exception rule. Let's go to the last one. I didn't win the lottery. I didn't buy you a new car. Does that really affect whether or not I told the truth? Another true instance. It's just that it didn't happen. I didn't win the lottery, so we don't really know what I would do, so we just leave it as true. JP, how many falses do you see here in this column? Just one. So let's put false right here. What instance led to the false? True, 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 false, false, true, or false, false? That's how we're going to write our rule. In a conditional situation, if you have a true hypothesis leading to a false conclusion, the outcome is false, and in all other cases, what's the result?
True.
True.
Sure.
Yes.
Didn't you say that the top one, true, true, and false, false would always be true, or would always be the same as each other? So if true, true is false, then false, false would be false.
Are you talking about the contrapositive? This is not necessarily corresponding to that. This is just 4 cases where this is where we have a false. In this case, we have a false leading to a false. We can later on we'll take a look. Maybe it is. I don't know. Did everybody understand that? Look at this term, conjunction. In mathematics, this has a very specific meaning. It goes along with this symbol, which goes along with which keyword? That's right, and. When we previously talked about and, did I say that and was picky?
Yes.
And here's what I was talking about. Let me put the rest of my chart together. And where's the sheet? For P and Q, let's write you are a freshman. Let Q be you are a girl. And I think the best way to show this example is to use it in an if-then situation. Let's write it out. You are a freshman and you are a girl. And my phrase will be if you are a freshman and a girl, then you pass geometry.
Well, looks like it failed.
So I'm putting it inside of this idea just to illustrate what we mean by picking. Start off your table with the same pattern that we did before. We start with a true, true. Then we go to a true, false. Then we have a false, true. Then we have a false, false situation between our two parts. But now it's an and situation. Let's see, who can we put in here? How about Olivia? Olivia, are you a freshman? All right, is she going to pass the course? She is a true, true. She passes the course. Let's see, Francisco. Is this the correct spelling of it?
Looks like it.
All right. Freshman?
Indeed.
Not a girl.
Hopefully.
Does he pass the course? I'm sorry. Let's see what I have here. Abigail,
10.
how do you spell your name?
Abigaile.
Like that? All right. Are you a freshman? Girl?
Yeah.
Do you pass geometry?
Yay,
No.
I'm not the only one.
And is very picky. All right. Tim? Freshman? Girl? You're really out of luck.
Double failed.
Who said this is like programming? It's exactly like programming. But long before there were computer programs, people were working out ideas like this. When he said it's like programming,
Except
pretend we're not talking about freshmen and girls and geometry, and let's say we're talking
Movements.
about whether you own a house or whether or not you pay a certain amount in interest rates on your mortgage on your house, and if you have two conditions that are met, then you get to take a certain deduction on your tax return.
Oh, that's good.
okay.
That's where this comes into use, and that's why you're going to do my taxes in the fourth quarter.
Wait, what?
What?
You'll be given all of my information, what I make, what my wife makes. You'll see how much we pay in interest on our house. You'll see all of that information. I'll give it to you, and then
To do math.
why not? What are you gonna do with it? I don't get my social security number.
Don't have to say, yeah, sure.
And what you will see is a huge series of if-then situations. And in some cases, it's an and situation. Maybe you get to take a certain deduction on your taxes if you are a certain age and you make a certain amount of money. And then in other cases, it might be an or situation, which we'll talk about in a second. Look at the last column. Once again, only one of them is different, and that's the very first one. In a conjunction, a true and a true lead to a true. All the others are false. So if you can remember the exception, then you can remember the rest. Next page. We have a disjunction. Disjunction is this V shape, which stands for or is not picky. And I believe the word we used last time was the word either or either.
Yeah.
Let us use the same statements. You are a freshman, and you are a girl. This time our statement is with the or connector. Or girl. And we're using the same if-then philosophy. We're saying, if you are a freshman or you are a girl, then you pass geometry. So let's write that over here. If you are a freshman, this time we're using or, then you pass geometry. We're setting this up the same way with true, 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 false, false, true, false, false, and let's deal with the same people. We have Olivia, we have Francisco, Francisco. Is that right, Abigail? And Tim. With or, does Olivia pass the course?
Yes.
She's got both, and that's great. That's overkill.
101%.
Francisco, do you pass?
Barely.
He's a freshman. That's enough. Abigail, does she pass? Yep. Not the first one, but the second condition. Tim, you're never going to pass. It's just that's the way it works out. We want to look at the exception. The exception here is the false instance. That results in a false. All others are true in this case.
So it's the same as the... Oh, number 5, let's go.
You're going to have to memorize those exceptions, which will help you memorize what a truth table for conditional and or look like, so that you can do larger truth tables like this. What do we always want to start with?
True.
Make sure you're doing it in this order, so that it's easy for me to correct these on quizzes and tests. What do you think negation is going to require?
It'd be the it's going to be false.
Opposite truth value. So if I see true, true, false, false in the first column, I'll change that to
False, false, true, true.
false, false, true, true. And the
False,
Q
true,
column
false,
is true, false, so now I'll put false, true, true. What is this symbol right here?
Condition.
Conditional. Go back to page 1. What is the exception or the thing that you're supposed to remember about the conditional truth?
True and false is false.
So
Or-
a true leading to a false. Conditional, you got to think about order. So if negation P is first and negation Q is second, I got to look at the columns in that order. Luckily, they're in that order. Which line out of this is going to be the only one that leads to a false statement?
True, false.
True to false is the only one that's going to be false. And as long as you can find that one, then you know all the rest
Are true.
will be true.
Wait, what?
Because of what we did in our example on page 1. And our example on page 1 was that I said I was going to buy you a car when I won the lottery, but then when I won the lottery, I didn't buy you a car, therefore I was not telling the truth. We used that example, and now we're expanding that every time we see a conditional, that rule applies. Let's look at number 2. Same setup, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. Those are our 4 options. What should I put for negation P?
False, false, true, true.
False, false, true, true. What symbol is in the final column? Or is or picky?
No.
No. So as long as we got a true in there, you know it's going to end up true. And the only time it'll be false is when both parts are false. So focus on this column and this column. We've got negation P and this one here. Order doesn't make a difference, so I can just look at the letters inside. Which line is the only one that's going to result in a false?
False, false.
Kelly? Which line? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Everything.
Help her out. Which line? False, false.
False.
This one right here is the only one that's going to... What about what one?
Run the bottom one.
The bottom one?
That's false,
This
true.
or is not picky. As long as we've got one true in there, we're okay.
Oh, we're just looking at those 2.
Yes, we're just because that's what's in our or statement. Just these two.
Thanks.
Were you looking at all 3 or just? We've got, so that's true and that's true. Are you getting the hang of this?
Wait, how was the first?
Well, let's take a look at our 2 letters. Is there at least one true in there?
Yes.
So it's a true outcome. That was the case where we said if you are a freshman or a girl, you pass geometry. So that would mean you're at least one of these 2 conditions. Number 3. Same setup. True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. What are we negating this time?
And
Which column's getting negated?
The Q.
The Q, so false, true, false, true. This is an and situation. Is and picky?
Yes.
Look back, see what the exception is. The exception there was that you only get a true if
They're both true.
they're both true. Look at the columns that I have to focus on. Right now, they're telling me look at negation Q and P and to ignore this column. Which is the only one that has true, true?
the
The
second
second
Second one.
one. So all the rest are false.
All the rest are false. Because and is picky. Got it, Tim? Let's go up to number 4. Once again, true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. They're asking for the basic conditional setup, which is the first truth table we looked at. So you're just copying that information from the first page,
True,
which
false,
would
true,
be
true.
what's nice is that when you see a negation symbol, it makes things a lot easier, as long as you have certain columns in front of you. Do I have a negation symbol? Well, what did we do with the negation symbol over here?
We switch the result.
We switch the result. It doesn't matter how big the information is, whether it's compound or whether you have a lot of statements linked together. As long as you have a negation symbol in front of it, you're just negating that truth value. Isn't this right here? So they're saying negate that.
So it's false, true, false, false.
Done.
Sorry.
And remember on your quiz, what did a negation in front of parentheses mean?
It's not.
It is not true that. So you're basically negating whatever is there, and it happens to be right there. It's easy when you got the column right next to you. Maybe if you look at 5 and 6, you'll see that you have to sometimes create the column. Go ahead, do 5 and 6. See what you come up with. And realize that you're not dealing with an infinite amount of rules here. You're dealing with a very finite number of rules. Did anybody have a question? Yes.
How did you get the third column on number 4? True, false.
The third column, that is that.
But and if like on the test, it would
You have to, it's this rule right here. That is that. They're just asking you to redo it. I'll start filling it in while you're working. Looks like we've got some negations. Is or picky?
No.
Nope, you just gotta make sure you're looking at the correct columns. In this case, it's those two. It's not picky, so this would be the only one that would be false. All the rest are true. And luckily, since we have that column, the next column just says, switch it. We've got an or situation with these two columns. Or it's still not picky. True, true, false, true. Now we got to start thinking. We've got a conditional. What is the exception rule for a conditional situation?
True, false.
True, false leads to a false. So I have to pay attention to order. I got to make sure I'm looking at this with P first, which is this column, and then this, which is this column. So I'm focused on that and that. So I see true, true. What does that lead to for a conditional? True. Then I got another true, true. That's true. Then I got a false, false. What does that result in? A true. Then I got a false and a true. That's true. They're all true. Because what's the only case that results in a false?
True, false.
True leading to false. It just isn't here. So I end up with all trues in that case.
Can you go over it?
Sure. Remember we went,
Yeah, you get
Tim, we said up here that the only way you get a false is a true followed by a false. And if I'm looking at this and this for my columns, I never get a true leading to a false. So they're all true.
So only when there's like another letter of the previous.
Only when it's true leading to a false. Doesn't matter that it's different looking as long as it's a conditional.
So you go by the first symbol?
True.